Our school is not random people teaching in a closed-door environment in their classroom doing their thing. That we are very much a culture where we have teams that work together. We're organized around learning communities so that students kind of get what they need when they need it, and so our teachers really feel committed to whatever team it is that they're on. So it definitely has that feeling to it that we are all responsible for students. It's not, this is my student for this period, this year. It's this was my student in 9th grade, this is always my student.
To work at Sanborn Regional High School, you have to be a team player to the nth degree. We are not looking for people who are going to get their students, get their room assignment, get their textbook, shut their door, and do their teaching. We are looking for people who are going to collaborate on all aspects of the teaching process. We're looking for people who think differently about education, who know that there are lots of different ways to approach instruction, and they need to be masters of all of those in order to meet kids' needs.
Sanborn decided to be part of this competency movement for a couple of reasons. One is that it was obviously a state directive. But the other thing is that I think our administrative team, we all come from have different experiences with education, but I think we all felt that it was, the time to change was overdue, that we are looking at a world that is so much different than what our world was going to school and our parents' world, and education hadn't changed. And we recognize that the day of the textbook is long gone, that we're preparing kids for these jobs and careers that in some cases weren't around when we were young or even aren't around now. So how do we do that? So learning has to be more flexible. It can't be so stuck in facts and figures and memorization. It's more about analyzing, evaluating, creating. And that's really exciting. So I think that our admin team we understood that, and that was the kind of education that we wanted to bring to Sanborn.
Competency-based education in my classroom is an opportunity for students to be able to continually grow in their learning. And the way they do that is they actually get feedback on how they're progressing through the curriculum versus just getting evaluated. And so competencies allow teachers like myself to be able to look at some of the things that they do well and some of the things that could be opportunities for growth. And the idea is that if I can keep helping them along that level and giving them pointed feedback on those different competencies versus just looking at it holistically, I can actually help them continually improve.
Our students are assessed using what we call performance assessments. These are usually large, multi-step problems or projects with rubrics where students really dive deep into a topic and really show us what they know about it. Think of it like driver's ed. The ultimate performance assessment is not your ability to take that written test that is probably multiple choice, where you memorized all the answers from that little book they gave you. It's physically getting into a car with someone you don't know, and they're asking you, show me how to do this, show me how to park the car, show me how to drive on the highway, show me how to make a left-hand turn. They really want to know that you've got it, and that's what performance assessments do for us here.
My name is Mark Gialucci. I am currently the librarian at Sanborn Regional High School. For the previous 6 years here, I was a social studies teacher in the 9th grade. The vision of competency-based grading actually dates back to New Hampshire statutes. It's a law in this state that we're supposed to be competency-based. Most schools conveniently ignored that law for quite a while. Our school was one of the first that sort of said, okay, we've got to do this, let's figure out how to make this work. Competency-based education has been not a piecemeal effort here, but it's been a step-at-a-time effort. It would have been impossible to, on September 1st of a particular year, just say, okay, we're all competency-based education, everything we've done in the past is no longer relevant, no longer works. There's too much history, there's too much learning that has to happen that way. So the school has rolled it out in a pretty logical fashion, not always perfectly. There's been a lot of missteps along the way, but the idea being that we're working towards the goal. We had the big picture in mind, which was we need to be here in 5 years, 6 years.
So one of the things that really helped me when I was making this change is I was an early adapter. An administrator came to me and said, hey, we want to do these things. Is that something you're interested in? It was like, absolutely. I love doing things that are best for our students. And if it means I have to change up something, it means I have to change up something. And so our administration at our school was extremely supportive of people making changes, doing things that are best practice for students. They gave us a lot of leeway when we were building our curriculum, building our assignments. Right? We were able to collaborate with each other. One of those pilot programs I told you was we actually put, one of the pilot programs that we did here was the FLC, which is a freshman learning community, where we actually had teams of teachers working just with the freshman class. And so we could then kind of work together during our PLCs, or professional learning communities, where we could start developing these changes too.
The big picture was a top-down vision. It was not something that the teachers said, okay, what's this going to look like? We were told we're going to move into a competency-based model. So that wasn't a decision. It wasn't put up to a vote. Do you want to be competency-based? Do you want to go back? Do you want to keep the way things were? A lot of the decisions, having said that, once they were made at the top levels, at the administrative level, a lot of it was organically grown from the bottom up. And I think that's the key to our success here, is that people like me, people like teachers, we're stakeholders in this. At the very beginning, it was kind of the Wild West in a lot of classrooms. We were not making stuff up as we went, but we were taking something that we had taught in a certain way for years and years and turning it on its head. And instead of asking kids to memorize things and just give them back to us, we were asking them to take those things, not necessarily memorize them, and just do something with them. And so we were flying blind. There was no model for this. There was no book that said this is how you do it. We were writing the book. And so it was kind of crazy around here, particularly when you think about a teacher and how you assess a student. So I think it wasn't chaos, but it was a big adventure, and it was very messy. And we went into this, the teachers who were successful at it, went into it with the mindset of, we're just going to mess this up, and we're going to keep doing it until we get it right.
One of the biggest challenges is that we're still kind of on a learning curve here. So students, when they come into the high school, not everyone's on the same level as far as their understanding of competencies. Same with parents who come in. So having those conversations with students and parents probably is one of the biggest challenges, getting them to understand that the competencies are kind of the big picture ideas, getting them to understand why they're important is one of the things that I think we struggle with at the beginning of the school year as freshman teachers.
Students have a big role in this. They are not bystanders in this by any means. We in the classroom are constantly learning from what students tell us about how things went. We're not too proud to say, we just tried that, we never tried that before, what did you think? Once students understand the concept behind competency-based grading, I think there's been a tremendous buy-in.
I think the most exciting thing is just seeing the possibility. And again, there were so many people in the school that really had these great ideas and wanted an opportunity to try them out, but felt restricted by kind of what's been done before. If you teach math, you have to get through 13 chapters of a textbook. If you teach social studies, it's this textbook. If it's English, it's these novels. Versus taking the idea of competencies and saying, it's this kind of big overarching idea, and I can figure out what are all of the different components and things that will go into helping students master that competency. And a lot of it involves student choice and student voice. So it's very creative, and I think that's what's really exciting about what we're doing is, just kind of, throwing out the tradition and saying what's best for our kids, and how do we make learning exciting? How do we get them ready for a college and career and say, look at all the possibilities.